Could you survive early medieval England as a serf? Life back then wasn't just tough, it was brutal. Imagine waking up in a freezing, smoky one-room hut, sharing your space with pigs and chickens, and eating the same bland bread day after day. Disease was rampant, death was common, and freedom was just a dream. But somehow people survived. How did they do it? And could you? Let's dive into the gritty realities of life in early medieval England and find out if you would have made it. Welcome to early medieval England. You're now a serf. That means you're not technically a slave, but you're not free either. You belong to the land, and your existence revolves around serving your lord. About 85% of the population were serfs, tied to the land they worked. You couldn't leave without permission, and your daily life was ruled by backbreaking labor. Your day starts before dawn, with the first rays of sunlight creeping over the horizon. You wake up on a pile of straw, pull on your coarse, itchy woolen tunic, and step outside into the chilly morning air. There's no time for leisure. You must tend to the Lord's fields. Plowing, planting, weeding, and harvesting are all done by hand with crude wooden or iron tools. The land is unyielding, and the weather is unpredictable. One bad season could mean famine for your entire village. Your hands are calloused, your back aches, and the work is relentless. Fields must be plowed with heavy oxen, and without modern irrigation, crops depend entirely on the weather. If the summer is too dry, the harvest fails. If the winter is too harsh, stores run out and starvation looms. Your obligations don't end with farming. You also have to maintain roads, repair buildings, chop firewood, and handle any other duties assigned by the Lord. There is no opportunity for advancement. Your father was a serf, and your children will be too. This is your life, and there is no escape. And forget about weekends, there's no such thing. The only reprieves are feast days, dictated by the church calendar. But even then, the work never truly stops. You still have to tend to your livestock, repair tools, and prepare for the next day's labor. Now let's talk about food. As a serf, your diet is monotonous and barely sustains you. Your meals consist mainly of coarse black bread, made from rye or barley, thick porridge, and the occasional vegetable, beans, peas, onions, turnips, whatever you can grow. Fruits are rare, and dairy is a luxury often reserved for the Lord's table. Meat? That's almost non-existent. You might get a small portion on rare feast days, but more often than not, you rely on fish, eggs, if your chickens are laying, or whatever small game you can catch. If you dare to poach from the Lord's land, you risk severe punishment, sometimes even death. Water isn't always safe to drink. Wells and rivers are often polluted with human and animal waste, leading to outbreaks of dysentery, cholera, and typhoid. To avoid illness, many drink weak ale instead. It's safer than water, but hardly nutritious. Your home, a cramped wattle and daub hut with a thatched roof, is no refuge from hardship. The floors are dirt, the air is thick with smoke from the open hearth, and your only source of warmth is the livestock you share your living space with. Rats, lice, and fleas are constant companions, bringing disease and misery. Winters are brutally cold, summers are unbearably hot, and there's no escaping the elements. Malnutrition is a constant struggle. Without a balanced diet, your body is weak, and you're prone to scurvy, rickets, and other nutritional deficiencies. Dental care is non-existent. Your teeth rot from grain husks and poor hygiene, leading to chronic pain and infections. Think you'd avoid sickness? Think again. Poisoning is a hidden killer in medieval England. For wealthier families, lead poisoning from glazed pottery is a common issue. The lead seeps into food and drink, causing chronic illness, neurological damage, and even death. But as a serf, you have a different danger: ergot poisoning. Ergot is a toxic fungus that infects rye, one of the staple grains of your diet. If you consume contaminated bread, you could suffer from terrifying hallucinations, convulsions, and gangrene. Some outbreaks have even caused mass hysteria, with entire villages afflicted by uncontrollable fits, seizures, and dancing epidemics. Imagine being unable to stop moving, your body betraying you until you collapse from exhaustion. Or worse, herbal remedies exist, but access is limited. Physicians are rare, and their knowledge is rudimentary at best. Most healing is done by local wise women or monks using herbal brews and prayers. If your illness is severe, the only option is to hope for divine intervention. Life expectancy is shockingly low, around 30 to 35 years. But that number is deceptive. If you survive childhood, you might make it to your 40s or 50s. The biggest threat? Infant mortality. 1/3 of children die before reaching the age of 5 due to malnutrition, disease, and unsanitary conditions. A simple cold can turn deadly. A cut can lead to fatal infection. The lack of medical knowledge means that illnesses are often blamed on supernatural forces rather than bacteria or viruses. The best you can hope for is a local healer using herbs, if you can afford them. Surviving infancy doesn't mean an easy life. Children as young as 6 are put to work, herding livestock, gathering firewood, or helping with chores. Education is non-existent unless you're training for the clergy. Most serfs never learn to read or write. If you're a woman, life is even harder. Your role is to serve your husband, bear children, and handle domestic tasks like spinning, weaving, and cooking. You have no say in who you marry, and childbirth is one of the most dangerous experiences you'll face. Midwives do their best, but there's no sterilization, no pain relief, and no medical intervention if something goes wrong. Many women die from infections, hemorrhaging, or obstructed labor. If you survive, you'll likely be pregnant again within a year. Childbirth is a constant cycle, and many women die young, leaving their children to be raised by others. Religion dominates every aspect of your life. The church is the center of your community, dictating not just spiritual matters, but also daily routines, moral conduct, and even legal disputes. You attend Mass regularly, and failing to do so could result in punishment or social ostracization. Your faith provides solace in an otherwise harsh existence. Saints are invoked for protection, prayers are offered for good harvests, and holy relics are believed to carry miraculous healing powers. The concept of heaven and hell is deeply ingrained. Sinning without repentance means eternal damnation. Superstition is also widespread. You believe in curses, omens, and the malevolent influence of witches. A bad harvest, sudden illness, or even a misfortune like a collapsed roof can be blamed on supernatural forces. If your cow stops producing milk, it's not bad luck. It could be the work of a jealous neighbor practicing dark magic. The church occasionally cracks down on suspected witches, leading to public trials and executions. Holy men claim to exorcise demons, and some illnesses are treated not with medicine, but with prayers and rituals. You live in a world where faith is both a source of hope and a means of control. And if all that wasn't enough, there was war. Viking invasions and internal conflicts between rival kingdoms meant you could be forced to fight for your lord. As a serf, you'd be handed a spear or an axe and sent to the battlefield with little to no training. Casualties were high, and even if you survived, returning home to ruined crops and famine was almost guaranteed. The sound of war horns could send entire villages into panic as men were dragged away and families prayed for their safe return. Many never came back, leaving widows and orphans to struggle in their absence. Even victory brought little reward, just more taxes to rebuild what was lost. Despite the hardships, people still found moments of joy. They fell in love, had families, celebrated feast days, and shared stories around the fire. Faith played a huge role in helping them cope with the brutal realities of life. Music and laughter filled the air during festivals, where even the poorest could forget their troubles for a night. Communities came together to help one another, sharing food and shelter in times of need. Though life was harsh, small acts of kindness, a neighbor's help, a child's smile, a warm meal, reminded them that hope endured. These moments of light made the struggle worth enduring. The harsh realities of serfdom meant that survival was an achievement in itself. From dawn until dusk, your life is dictated by labor, faith, and the ever-present threat of disease and famine. Your fate is decided at birth, and escape is nearly impossible. And yet, despite everything, people found ways to endure. They built families, shared stories, and clung to faith as a beacon of hope in a world full of suffering. So could you have survived? Let me know in the comments.